There is a $2,500 payment waiting for almost every Canadian family after a death, and Service Canada will never phone to tell you it exists. If you're 60 or older, or you're helping a parent, one form is all that stands between your family and that money. Here are the 6 things families miss. And stay with me until number 6, because that's the one almost everyone gets completely backwards. Number 1. This money is never automatic. And that single fact costs families the most. The Canada Pension Plan Death Benefit is a flat $2,500, paid one time after a CPP contributor dies. But Service Canada does not release it on its own. Someone has to apply. The moment a death is registered, nothing happens on the CPP side until a form arrives. That form is the ISP 1200, the application for a Canada Pension Plan Death Benefit. You can mail the paper version or file it faster online through a My Service Canada account. Here's who is meant to apply. If there's a will, the executor of the estate applies. If there's no estate, or the executor doesn't act, the right to claim passes down a set order. First, the person or funeral home that paid the funeral bill, then the surviving spouse or common law partner, then the next of kin. The mistake I see over and over is a family assuming the funeral home took care of it, while the funeral home assumes the family did. Picture 2 adult sons in Ontario who buried their father in March. Each was sure the other had filed, and 8 months later they discovered the $2,500 still sitting there, untouched. Weeks pass, no one submits the form. And the $2,500 just sits there, unclaimed, because a piece of paper was never sent. So the very first thing your family should do, before sorting anything else, is decide out loud who is filing the ISP 1200 and when. One named person, one form. That's the whole trigger. Number 2, the 60-day rule, and why waiting quietly is the costliest move. Service Canada asks the executor to apply within 60 days of the date of death. Now here's the part that gets misread in both directions. Missing 60 days does not erase the benefit. The $2,500 is not forfeited the moment day 61 arrives. But that deadline is not decoration either. 2 things go wrong when families drift past it. First, if the executor hasn't applied inside those 60 days, the right to claim can shift down that priority list to the person who paid the funeral, then the spouse, then next of kin, which means the person you expected to receive it may no longer be first in line. A daughter named executor who waited 4 months once watched the check go instead to the cousin who had fronted the $7,000 funeral bill, exactly as the rules allow. Second, dragging the application out can cost you retroactive payments and stack delays onto an estate that's already waiting. And this benefit is not fast even when you're on time. Service Canada takes roughly 6 to 12 weeks to process a completed application and send the money, so every week you wait is added on top of 3 months. The typical error is grief plus paperwork paralysis. Everyone is overwhelmed, no one wants to deal with government forms, and the file goes cold. Treat 60 days as a hard personal deadline even though the law is softer. Put a date on the calendar within the first 2 weeks. The family that files early gets the cleanest, fastest result and keeps the money with the person it was meant for. Number 3. The brand new top-up that can double this payment to $5,000, and hardly anyone knows it exists. As of January 1st, 2025, Canada added an extra top-up of up to $2,500 on top of the standard benefit. That's up to $5,000 in total. But it's narrow, so listen closely to who qualifies. The top-up is aimed at contributors who never actually collected on their CPP, meaning the person paid into the plan for years, but died before ever receiving a CPP retirement pension or a CPP disability benefit, and who left no eligible surviving spouse or common law partner. Think of a single person, or someone widowed years earlier, who worked and contributed their whole life, retired, and passed away before claiming, or right as they were about to. Take a never-married retiree who paid into CPP for 40 years, turned 64, and died 2 months before filing for his pension. He never drew a single check, and he left no spouse. Under the old rules, their estate got $2,500. Under the new rule, that same estate can now receive up to $5,000. The mistake families make is assuming the death benefit is always a flat $2,500 and never checking whether the larger amount applies. If your loved one contributed to CPP but never drew a cent of retirement or disability money and had no surviving spouse, that is a direct signal to ask Service Canada about the top-up when you file the ISP 1200. Do not leave the extra $2,500 on the table, simply because no one mentioned it to you. And this is exactly why number 6 matters so much, because even $5,000 is not the biggest check on the table. Hold that thought. Number 4. The small documentation mistakes that quietly freeze your payment for months. A death benefit application doesn't usually get rejected outright. It gets stuck. And it gets stuck for reasons that are almost insultingly small. The first is proof of death. Service Canada needs an official proof of death or death certificate attached to the application, and a missing or incomplete one is a top reason files stall. The second is social insurance numbers, and here's the specific trick. You must write both social insurance numbers on the documents, the deceased contributors, and the applicants. Leave off the contributor's SIN, and the system can't even match the file. One widow submitted her ISP 1200 with only her own 9-digit SIN, and her application sat untouched for 5 weeks until a clerk finally wrote back asking for her late husband's number. The third, if you're claiming as the person who paid the funeral, is proof that you paid. Keep the funeral invoice and receipts, because that's what puts you first in the priority line. The mistake is treating this like a quick form you rush through in 10 minutes. A rushed, half-complete ISP 1200 doesn't get flagged in a day. It can sit for a month before someone requests the missing piece, and then you restart the clock. So before anything goes in the envelope or gets uploaded, check 3 things. Official proof of death attached, both SINs written clearly on the paperwork, and, if it applies to you, the funeral receipt included. 5 extra minutes at the start saves you 6 extra weeks at the back end. On something the family is already waiting on. That gap is the difference between money this season and money next season. Number 5. This money is taxable, and getting the tax part wrong can cost you more than it should. The $2,500 death benefit is not tax-free. It counts as taxable income. But the key question is whose income it lands on, and that's where families overpay. In most cases, the cleanest route is for the benefit to be reported on the estate's tax return, rather than piled onto a grieving family member's personal income, where it can get taxed at that person's higher rate. If the estate has little other income, the tax owed on that $2,500 can be small, or nothing at all. If instead, a working spouse or an adult child simply adds it to their own return without thinking, it can be taxed at their full marginal rate, turning a $2,500 benefit into noticeably less. Run the numbers. An adult daughter earning $90,000 sits near a 43% marginal rate, so reporting the $2,500 on her own return hands roughly $1,080 to the taxman, while the estate with almost no income might pay about $375 or zero. The mistake is assuming a government benefit must be tax-free and ignoring it at tax time, or reporting it in the wrong place out of habit. So do 2 things. Keep the paperwork showing the death benefit was paid, and before you file, ask a tax preparer one specific question. Should this be reported on the estate return or on a personal return? For most families, the estate return is the better answer. It's a 5-minute question that can protect several $100s of a payment your loved one earned by contributing for decades. Don't let the taxman quietly take back a slice that could have stayed with the family. Number 6, the one almost every family gets completely backwards. When people hear CPP death benefit, they think the $2,500 check is the whole of what CPP pays out when someone dies. It is not. It may be the smallest piece. That one-time lump sum is completely separate from the CPP survivor's pension, an ongoing monthly payment to a surviving spouse or common-law partner that can continue for the rest of their life. Over the years, that monthly check is worth many times the $2,500. Consider a widow in her 50s who claimed the lump sum, assumed she was finished with CPP, and never applied for the survivor's pension. At around $700 a month, that's roughly $8,400 a year, and well over $150,000 across a normal lifespan, all left behind. And it's separate again from the CPP children's benefit, a monthly payment, roughly $300 per eligible child, for the dependent children of a contributor who has died. At about $294 a month, 2 dependent kids collecting until 18 can add up to tens of thousands of dollars over the years. Here is the costly misunderstanding. Families claim the $2,500, feel like they've done the CPP part, and never apply for the survivor's pension or the children's benefit, leaving hundreds of dollars a month for years, completely unclaimed. Others wrongly believe claiming one cancels the other. It doesn't. They are 3 different benefits, and an eligible family can receive all 3. So when you file that ISP 1200 for the lump sum, that is your cue to ask the same question about the 2 ongoing ones. Is there a surviving spouse who should be applying for the survivor's pension? And are there dependent children who qualify for the children's benefit? The lump sum is the door. The monthly payments are the house. Walk through and check every room, because that's where the real money your family is owed actually lives. So here's your one step this week. Find out who in your family is named to handle the estate, and have that person start the ISP 1200 online or on paper with the proof of death and both SIN numbers ready. That one form opens the door to everything else. If this could help your family or someone you love, subscribe and share it with them, because the people who find out in time keep the money, and the ones who don't find out after it's already gone.